Come on. Hi, everyone. Hey, Rhonda. You made it home. Ricky, we can see you. You've got your camera on tonight. Awesome. Ooh, we got somebody that's got a lot of photos in the background there. Beautiful backdrop. Ours is pretty good. I like it with the window open like that. It's good. We're busy here. We'll do our hair check. Yeah. Let's see who else we have here tonight. We got Pearl. Pearl has made it home from Costa Rica. Well done. Proud, happy you're back. Sorry, it wasn't getting home from Costa Rica. It was getting from the Vancouver airport to Chilliwack. That was the problem. Go figure. Ian, hi. Hi, Marley. Bonnie, I have Miss Catherine beside me. I'm sure she's happy to see you. We're just gonna wait it out for about 4 minutes. So who's excited to hear about Africa tonight? I am. That's for darn sure. Because actually, well, we're going. We're not roommates, but we're going. We're going to Africa in April. April 19th or something? April 19th?
Yep.
Well, there we go. And there's a beautiful Janice over here too. Do you want to come say hi? Come on. It's like a social time. Janice, so she's my roommate, so we're going to be in Africa, we think.
And apparently I'm Ricky's roommate.
And Paul is on, yay! I'm like, I don't see him yet. I'm getting a bit nervous. So Paul's our speaker. He helped establish Boutique Safaris. So I can't wait for everybody to hear his story. And I'm not going to say anything because I totally can't do it justice.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Yay.
We got 3 more minutes till showtime. So Paul, if you want to go grab some water, coffee, whatever you need to get through this hour of.
I grabbed my robes.
Your robes. Okay.
My Maasai robes.
Perfect.
Only because, you know, what better thing to have next to me when we're talking about Tanzania?
It will definitely give you and get you in the mood for sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty funky jacket you have on.
Me?
Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny, that's pretty impressive.
Springs with Ricky.
Wow, of course, with Ricky. What else is new? Find a good place to shop. That's gorgeous. I love it.
Oh, you were just in Palm Springs too, right, Paul?
I was. I got back on, or we got back on Thursday. It was awful.
It was awful. How was the weather?
Awful.
Terrible.
How was the antigen, the PCR test, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, it was great. It was just great.
Did you have to take a test on the way home, or did you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you have to pay for it?
No, which was really cool. In the US, or I guess in California, it was basically show up, make an appointment, and it was all covered. So that was not what I expected, but it was quite a nice surprise.
Right. You're going to spend $150 in duty free instead.
Yeah.
We have 20 people on. Wow, that jumped really quickly. Last time I looked down, it was 9 people. Now we've got quite a few. So we're getting close to showtime. Tara's on in Edmonton.
Wow, someone has an epic collection of photographs.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, wow. Those, I'd love to see what those actually are, but my goodness, they look cool.
The TV.
Can you go to the gallery, because someone's showing photos and not
Gallery.
Wow.
view gallery.
Wow, those look like all travel
There you go.
pictures.
The top actually, it says I love to travel or love something like that.
Are you muted?
Oh, that is so cool.
No, I took the mute off
Well,
here.
Look at that page.
Did I actually see? I did. Keith, you're there. My God, so good to
Puerto
see
Vallarta.
you. Is Percy with you? Hey, Percy, nice to meet you.
Hi, Percy.
So-
Hi, how are you?
Sorry, we were muted. Nice to see you, Paul.
Hi.
Yeah, you're not tanned enough. You need more. You need more. You need more sun.
Another month in Puerto Vallarta, maybe?
Wow. Oh my God. So tan.
So, ready? Okay, well, we're 7 o'clock on the nose, and we know that everybody's got places to go and things to do on a Tuesday night. So we just want to say thank you so much for coming and logging on and being with us here tonight for this fabulous opportunity to hear Paul speak. So I'm not going to say too much more, except for Paul, thank you for joining us and sharing your passion. And we're going to talk more after. How's that sound? Jenny, oh, sorry, I forgot about that part. Jenny, this beautiful blonde with the Farrah Fawcett hair. beside me. She's actually going to be interviewing Paul too. Sorry about that. It's been kind of a banter here today. So Jenny's going to be interviewing Paul. So Jenny, take it over. I am saying goodbye until the end.
Hi, everybody. So one of the reasons, well, I guess the reason why I get to interview Paul is because Paul got me to go to Tanzania many years ago now. And since then, I've been back 3 times and it's changed my life going to Tanzania, and I get to go again next year. So we here at Personal Travel, Paul is just a wealth of knowledge on Tanzania. So he's going to tell us all about it. So I'm going to put some questions to him, and then he's going to teach us everything we need to know about planning our safari to go to Tanzania. So Paul, let's start with why Tanzania? Why?
Okay, no pressure. Why Tanzania? Well, if anyone has dreamed of going to Africa and has this epic idea of the Serengeti and thousands of animals in a day, or Ngorogoro Crater, or Mount Kilimanjaro, or the biggest national park in Africa, which is actually the Selous National Reserve, or Zanzibar, Tanzania is where it's at. Tanzania is where most of East Africa's epic sites and places to see are located. A lot of people think that's in Kenya. It's actually untrue. Serengeti National Park is one example. About 80% of it is in Tanzania, not in Kenya. And Kilimanjaro's in Tanzania. So there's just so much that country has to offer. And these are just talking about the natural wonders and the beauties. Then we talk about the culture, the Maasai people, the other indigenous peoples, just remarkable culture to be part of, and they're so welcoming and open and sharing and anxious to share their lives with others. And it's also very multicultural. Zanzibar is a Muslim nation, really, and it's a very unique culture, very unique country, and there is nothing like the abundance of the Garden of Eden of Serengeti. There's no other place on the planet that even comes close to it. And I've had the blessing of traveling all over Africa, and there's absolutely nothing that touches what one gets to see in a place like Serengeti.
That's amazing. So when people talk about going on safari, different things happen in different months of the year. So can you go through and sort of give us a rundown on what each?
Sure. Okay, so like every place on the planet, different seasons bring different sights. And in Tanzania, I think one of the things that you have to always be reminding yourself of is, what time of year am I going, and what does that mean in terms of weather, or in terms of seasons, or in terms of what the animals, which is one of the reasons we all go, what are the animals doing at this time of year? So everything follows, especially in Serengeti, the rains. Rains are everything. Rains bring abundance. Rains, and without rains, there is no abundance. So the cycle of the rains is everything. And the cycle of the rains defines what happens with the animals. So the most remarkable times of year to go, without question, the period from January through the end of March, early April, that is the migration season in Serengeti. So if you can just imagine the sight of seeing on any given day, and I'm not exaggerating, 200,000 to 400,000 animals, and there will be 8,000 calves of wildebeest born on any given day in the height of the birthing season. So the birthing season is in the short grass plains of Serengeti National Park. There's nothing like it. It is a sight to behold, but it also attracts every other animal because the animals are all traveling. They move a lot, and the short grass plains at that time of year are they're short grass and they're abundant because the rains of November and sometimes December have taken place. So everything is green, and its life is blossoming. That period is honestly gobsmacking, and you'll see just beauty like you cannot imagine. The April is when they get what they call the large rains, or the long rains. April is a wet season. That doesn't mean it's not a great time to go. It's just you might get some days of rain, but rain there is very different than rain here. It will rain for, I don't know, an hour and just drench everything, and then it just stops. The season from May through September becomes drier and drier. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means it could be a bit more dusty. It won't be as green as some of the photos that you're seeing on your screen. It will be more like the photo you're just seeing now, more dry, less vegetation, which in some cases is great for viewing animals because there's less barriers in terms of leaves or other vegetation. And then that also is a cycle where the migration isn't really in Tanzania for the period from about, I'm just trying to get my head straight, from July and August is a time when most of the wildebeest, which is the migration, the wildebeest are not really around Serengeti in Tanzania. They're in the very far north in Kenya in July and August. But by September, they're coming back down, and they just do a circle every year. And September, October, November, they're great times of year. November, it can be the short rains, but like I said, I've been there in November and it's been phenomenal. But again, what you're really thinking about is what are the animals doing? And a lot has to do with what the rains have done. And the pictures you're seeing now, ballooning, you can see how green everything is and how lush it is. That's a clear sign of what time of year you're there, which is definitely after there have been some rains that are making the grasses grow.
If you were in each of the places, you've got either hotels or set camps or mobile camps. Can you explain the differences?
Oh, absolutely. So when you're on safari, and just so everyone knows, safari is a term from the Swahili language that just basically means you're on an adventure, and you're traveling. So when you're on safari, you're usually in a national park or a national reserve, or you're basically just traveling throughout the country. But when you're staying, you have lots of choices for the kinds of places you can stay. And just like Jenny said, there's what we call mobile camps, which literally follow the wildebeest. So the camps move depending on what time of year we're in, because the Serengeti's migration is moving. So the mobile tented camps are really cool because they move with the migration. What I would call normal sort of established tented camps, they range. They can be camps where you have very beautiful luxury, like what you're seeing in the picture. That is a tented camp. That is a very lovely tented camp. Yeah, so tented camps can be, they're obviously permanent. And when you say tented, As you can see, tented is just a word. It usually means an elevated structure that's permanent, upon which a room has been built, and the room's walls and ceiling are made of tented canvas. Believe me, that doesn't mean that it's not comfortable or that it isn't a wonderful place to stay. And then there's also what I would call established camps, which are not based on a tented idea. They're based on buildings. So you'll have little separate buildings for each room, or you'll have a large kind of like a mini hotel that is one building with wings on the side of it, usually with your dining room and bar and so on in the middle. And what I always tell people is, get out of your comfort zone and do some really different things and explore the options for accommodation, because the most fun safaris are ones where you get a variety of accommodation, so that you really get a sense. There's nothing like being close to the ground when you're on safari. There's nothing like sitting there and watching a giraffe literally walk by your tent, or in the middle of the night, you might hear, if you're really lucky, you might hear hippos wandering past and making their hilarious noises as they graze. These are experiences you can't have when you're in a cement structure. So I really recommend that people try a variety of accommodation, because it means that you will experience things you could never experience in a traditional hotel.
And they're safe too, because that's what I found. Being in a tent camp, you've got no walls or perimeter, but everybody, you're not allowed to walk on your own. You've got to have a guide or the Maasai with you from the
absolutely
hotel. So completely safe.
Oh, I've never. So again, Jenny's right. A lot of people think, oh my goodness, there could be animals around me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there could be animals around us. How cool is that? You don't have to worry. The animals don't really want anything to do with us. You can't leave your room or your tent, so to speak, without ringing a bell. You just ring these funny bells, or you flash your flashlight, depending on the time of day, and one of the guides will immediately come to get you and guide you. Let's say you're going to eat, or you're coming back from eating, or it's early in the morning. They always are there to take you from your tent, wherever that may be, to the main lodge. It's so safe. It's crazy. I've never seen anything ever happen except adventure and exciting things happen when you're there.
And you don't have to be physically active or anything to do a safari at all.
No, that's a really good point, Jenny. And it's also something that many people misunderstand. In a national park in Tanzania, you aren't allowed to walk anywhere. You aren't allowed to go hiking, for example. Everything is based on the safety of the animals and their environment. So only in certain places, like certain places where we might go for a picnic lunch, are you allowed to actually get out of the vehicles and explore. But when I say explore, it really isn't. You're just kind of hanging out in a very defined area. And that's designed intentionally. So you're generally in a vehicle when you are out on safari, and you go for game drives early in the morning and then late in the afternoon, because that's of course when the animals are the most active. And then in the daytime, sort of around lunch, you're usually just enjoying the environment. You usually are back at your camp, and you're having lunch, you're sitting watching the world go past you. In some cases, if you want to have a long day with your guide, you can actually take a picnic lunch and go out for the whole day, which I honestly recommend that you do at least once. Go out for the whole day and have an entire day watching the nature at its sort of peak. And there's really, again, nothing like that. You're there once, take advantage of it, do everything, and live every moment. And so I think that you don't really move much. So for people that are really active, what I always recommend is bring a yoga mat, or do push-ups and sit-ups in your room when you are in your room, because you really won't be able to do a lot of activity unless you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro or you want to do a hike in advance. There's lots of options, but when you're actually on safari in national park, you will not be doing an awful lot, and so it's incredibly easy for anyone at any fitness level, even anyone who has mobility issues. There's no issue of any kind. We have traveled with people who have needed canes, walkers, help getting into and out of vehicles. It's never a bother, which is actually quite wonderful.
Somebody, a few people mentioned to me on the last trip, how come when we were in the Serengeti, we could go off-road?
Yes.
And yet when we were in the crater, we had to stay on the set roads.
Right. Great question. So actually, it depends where you are. So in different national parks, different rules apply. And in most of Serengeti, the actual rule is you must stay on road. However, I know where you were. And one of the reasons that you want to go in January, February, March, when the birthing season takes place, is that you are in an area of Serengeti National Park where they allow off-roading. So you can basically, if you see something like a wildebeest being born, you can drive right up to it, as long as you're within a distance, and the guides will tell you what that means to ensure that the animal isn't disturbed. You can go off-roading. But in the Ngorogoro Crater and in other parts of the Serengeti, you have to stay on the roads as they are. Now, let's also talk about roads. Roads don't mean the kind of roads you're used to here. The roads are always not paved, which is a good thing, because that would really upset the animals. The roads are bare earth that has, you can actually, there, perfect picture of wildebeest crossing a road. That's what a road looks like in the national parks. And you just because you're on a road doesn't mean you won't see anything. If there's one thing I will say about Tanzania, I would never say that about South Africa. I wouldn't say it about Zimbabwe. I wouldn't say it about Kenya. I never ever worry that you're not going to see the dream animals that you want to see in Tanzania, because there is such an abundance of life that being on a road does not necessarily mean anything like, well, we can't see an animal. No, you're not going to have that issue. And you may not get as close to an animal as you might like, but that doesn't mean you're not going to see truly, breathtaking and memorable things.
If you were, okay, so moving on, so we're going to do two parts to this. If you were a brand new person going to Tanzania, this would be your first time. What would you recommend would be a first-time safari that people should definitely see and experience? And how long do you think?
Sure. So I always strongly suggest to people that a trip to Tanzania isn't just about animals. Animals are absolutely a highlight and an incredible thing, but people and markets and life of the people, culture, local culture, are also what makes the place it is. So I always recommend that people spend a couple days or at least 3 or 4 of their days intersecting with the local culture in addition to safaring. So the perfect trip for me would be that you land, because you always land in the evening in most of the time, because you're usually on KLM Airlines, which arrives at about 7 at night. You'll arrive in Arusha around that time, and then you're going to be a bit fatigued, and you'll have just flown from Europe. It's a long flight, so I recommend that people spend the first couple of days just getting used to the climate, the local scene in Arusha. So first day is a market day. There's nothing more exciting than going to the local markets. There's an incredible orphanage that we have supported forever, and it's a baby orphanage. Pretty remarkable thing to be able to do. Yeah, and so the first day is, to me, is all about this is Africa, baby. That's what I call it. It's the That's Africa Baby Day, because it really is. This is what normal people do. This is what life is like, and it really gives you a sense of, okay, how does this place work? What's a day look like? And then the next, so after day one, where you're just really getting used to the environment, day two, you definitely want to get a little bit more active so that you're moving a bit. So there's lots of ideas that we have to get people moving. But by day two, you're probably in the afternoon going to start out on your safari. And the first place that I absolutely cannot say everyone should go to, in fact, I would say they must go to, is Tarangiri National Park. Tarangiri is a small national park. It's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours out of Arusha. Why? It has honestly the most spectacular baobab tree forest that I've seen in Africa, but it also is really well known for its really strong population of large herds of elephants. And who doesn't want to see elephants? And who doesn't want to see a lot of elephants? And Tarangiri is the place to do that. And it's really, it's remarkable. You're on a highway one moment, and then within 20 minutes, you're in the middle of a herd of elephants. It's pretty amazing. And so Tarangiri would be stop number one. And then you would spend a night near Tarangiri, very close to that area, which is a beautiful area. Tarangiri is part of the lake area. There's a fantastic lake that sort of feeds the Tarangiri ecosystem, and it's really beautiful. And it's also where the Maasai people have a lot of their traditional territories. So you're going to see a lot of Maasai people. You're going to see a lot of Maasai villages. There's some pictures of villages coming up now. And it really is a great introduction. The next day is, to me, the day that people remember for its culture. Because we have a relationship with the Maasai people and the clan of Maasai people that live close to Tarangiri, I can't recommend enough that you don't go and visit Abby's village. And we'll talk about Abby in a minute. But you normally don't get into a Maasai village. People aren't, their Maasai are very private people. That's Abby. And he's with Jenny there. But Abby's village is very welcoming of us. And to spend a day in a traditional Maasai village where there's no power, and the people have lived like this for centuries, and to just be part of their day-to-day lives is a gift. And I can't recommend it enough. And then the next, you'd go back to the same lodge near Tarangiri after your day in the village. And then the next day is in Gorgo Crater. If you've ever seen National Geographic or Blue Planet or any of those documentaries, and they have to do with East Africa, a lot of the time part of it will be, and there's Ngorogoro Crater right there. So Ngorogoro is the largest, it's a seventh natural wonder of the world. It's the largest natural crater in the world. It was a volcano, a very long time ago, but now it's the largest area with over 60,000 animals in the area on any given day. It is, it's so cool to be in the middle of the crater. You usually stay on the lip of the crater with extraordinary views down into the crater, and you get up really early in the morning, and then you weave down the sides of the crater wall and end up in the crater very early, so that you're there just when nature is waking up. And you get to spend a full morning just in the crater. And we always bring an epic sort of safari breakfast, so that you end your morning at the hippo pool, where you can have a picnic breakfast and watch these crazy hippos and all the bird life around the hippo pool, which is this huge thrill. And then you sort of trek back up and spend the late afternoon and evening back at your lodge. So that's day, I think, 4. Day 5, 6, 7, and often 8, depending on what time of year, you've got to be in Serengeti. Garden of Eden, incredible population of biodiversity, from bird species to bugs to spiders to every imaginable creature that you've ever seen in a picture about Africa. It'll all be there, and it'll be there in abundance. And you really, it's such a giant park with so many different ecosystems. You really need a minimum of 3, and I would really recommend 4 days in Serengeti, no matter what time of year, because you want to experience not just one area of the park, you want to experience a couple areas. And they are so different. There's woodlands, there's very flat plains, there's rivers and areas of river that have a completely different ecosystem and life cycle. There's windy hills and koppies, which are rock formations that attract a lot of unusual creatures, like a lot of leopards actually hang out near them. So what I'm getting at is the Serengeti is huge, it is amazing, and you really need to spend 4 days there to really absorb the depth and breadth of what Serengeti has to offer. And then you'd come back, that's usually about day 10, something like that, day 9, day 10, and then you'd make your way back. I really recommend that on the way home, instead of taking the long route, which is by road, which is can be, you've done a long trek and it's taken a long time for you to get there. One of the most ridiculously fun things to do is take a safari flight from Serengeti back to Arusha. So you fly right over the Serengeti, you fly right over all the animals, over the crater. It's really cool. And it also avoids having to do all that journey back home, back to Arusha. And then if you want to do some more cool things, Zanzibar is amazing. It's like going to a completely different country. It has it's so different that you can't really consider it Tanzania, even though the Zan comes from Zanzibar. It's Muslim, it's beaches, it's coral reef, it's call to prayer, it's ancient structures. It's just a stunning place to visit. It's spices. It's on the spice route, ancient spice route. It's where cloves and peppercorns and turmeric and all kinds of spices that are used in a lot of cooking that across the world, but really in a lot of South Asian cooking. That's where it all comes from. Cinnamon, all that kind of stuff. Zanzibar is amazing. And it's a really nice place to sort of hang out for 4 or 5 days after your safari, because safarying, it sounds like you're not doing much, but you are busy and your mind is just getting blown away constantly. So it's so nice to be able to sort of sit back and just think about the experiences you've had after that safari. And you're seeing some ballooning pictures. Man, if you really want to do something that you'll never forget, go ballooning on the Serengeti. It's a once in a lifetime experience. There's nothing like it. Hovering right over top of animals when they really aren't aware that you're there because it's silent. Being in a balloon at sunrise in Serengeti. Oh man, it's pretty cool. And then of course there's the crazy breakfast that they serve in the Serengeti. So the last time I was there, we were having breakfast, and kid you not, like 3 giraffe literally decided to walk past where we were eating breakfast, and it's like, this is crazy. So all in all, that was a very long answer. I would say the perfect safari from start to finish is 11, 12 days. And then if you want to add Zanzibar on, I really recommend you take at least 4 and usually 5 days to really take it all in. Stone Town, you need a couple of days. It's ancient, it's magical. And then you're going to want to hang out at the glorious white sand beaches for a few days just to chill and relax and hang out in this water that feels like a warm bath because it's the Indian Ocean, and it's stunning. So hopefully that helped. That was a long answer. I'm sorry.
Good. That was good. So, all right, now we're going to get into the real nitty gritty here. Abby, boutique safaris. So boutique safaris is exclusive to personal travel management. Now, we've talked a lot. You've seen him in the pictures. Explain, I would love you to explain your relationship with Abby, how it came to be. You're a Maasai, or, okay, you're going to explain that in further.
Mhm.
I'm going to just let you run on this. We'd like to learn about the orphanage, because I've been to the orphanage now 3 times. It blows my mind every time I go there. And then the school. I myself sponsor one of the young girls at the school. I know some of my other clients do as well. His vision for that school, you know more about it than I do. Teach us all, because it's heartwarming, and he is an incredible person.
He is. I can't not tear up.
He's awesome. He really is awesome.
Yeah, I miss him a lot. So how did I meet Abby? The very first time that I was in Tanzania, I was guiding a group of people. I come from a travel family. My family had a travel company, and I helped guide and create tours for them for a long time into my adult working life. We decided to take a group to Tanzania, and luckily it was an enormously successful trip, and I got to spend 6 weeks on safari with different groups of my parents' company's clients. And Abby was one of the guides throughout the entire trip. Abby is a person that exists once in a lifetime. He grew up in a tiny village surrounded by nature, and honestly right under the Ngorogoro crater. He is a truly remarkable man. His wife is actually, I would say, as remarkable, if not more remarkable, for different reasons. He was my safari guide, and we spent 6 weeks in a vehicle getting to know one another. And I can't say anything, but we became fast friends, and he became so much more to me than a friend that I would never have known it. And just imagine that after that experience, I just felt that I had to really continue a relationship with him and with his family. And that has led to, there's Abby there. Abby does things on safari that no other guide will do. Number one, he will have days where he calls it, this is your Maasai day. He will show up that day wearing his robes as a normal Maasai person. He would be a senior warrior in their traditional culture. And you will have, sitting down by the fire that night, an opportunity to ask literally any question about his culture, his history, his family, his clan, his village, every imaginable topic in the Maasai life culture. Abby has a vision, and when I met him, he was simply a guide for a large safari company. The second time I went to Tanzania, I went on my own, and I got to just literally live with Abby and his family. It was a time when I was challenged with some things in my personal life, and I just knew I kind of had to get away from the world. And Abby just kept sending me emails that said, and I'm not, there were 3 words: come home, brother. And he just kept sending me emails. We were very much in contact. So I went to Tanzania, and I spent a month and a half. And you don't really know a person until you get to live with them. And I didn't really know where Abby lived. I didn't know much about his family other than he had a wife and 2 kids. I hadn't met them until then. And boy, what a remarkably welcoming and gentle and kind and compassionate people they are. And living with Abby and his family was like an adventure every day, because the Maasai people believe that community is everything. And because they live in the city, and not in the village, which is about a 2.5-hour bus ride. People that come into the city are usually coming in for significant reasons like medical care or an accident or something serious. Their door is open. So it would be normal on any given day to come home from going out with Abby for whatever reason and having an entire group of his clan, wives, children's, warriors, whatever, just show up at the gates of his home, and he would welcome them in and we would cook for them and just be. And that also led me to have the immense honor of spending some serious time in his village. And that's not something that a person who looks like me or you would normally get to do. And I got to live with his parents in the village and hang out with his animals, because every Maasai person, especially if you're a boy, you have to have animals. It's your bank account. And I got to just hang out with their people. And his father is a very respected elder in their clan. And it's very similar to being what we might qualify sort of as an elder, and in some respects a chief. It's not the same, but it's similar. And so again, something you would never ever get to experience. But for Abby, a person like Abby's father, they regularly, on a daily basis, people just stop by because they have issues, they have disputes, they have conflicts, they have children that are not doing the things that they think they ought to be, and they might be getting into trouble or something. And they just sit and talk, and they sit and resolve their issues together as a community. And I just got to be part of that. I didn't understand a word that they were saying, but I got to absorb this culture. And through a series of incredibly organic events, Abby and I decided to do something that had never been done before. Abby had a dream, and I knew I could help make it happen. And his dream was to start the only safari company ever run by and with the ethics and integrity and value system of the Maasai people, and owned by the Maasai people. And so that's how his tiny safari company got started, from nothing. And I was his business helper, his business advisor. I helped set up the website. I helped figure out, how does this all work, and how do we set up a safari company from scratch? And everyone told us it was impossible. But Abby, this is one story that I tell everyone, and it just says everything about Abby. When Abby was learning English as a young boy, he saw the word impossible. And he was about 9, he said. And he thought the word said, I'm possible. And so whenever someone tells Abby that something's impossible, he says, no, I'm possible. This will happen. I promise you, if you work hard enough and you dream hard enough, it will happen. So that was really our motto for setting up this company, when everyone from Canada to Tanzania told us this was crazy and it was impossible, but it wasn't. And as a result of that, this tiny safari company grew up to start from nothing and then to slowly grow. And one of Abby's fundamental values was that he needed to support his community, and he needed to ensure that a portion of the income from the safari company went back into his community, but in a way that many other, charities and so on, they don't think the same way that Abby does. So when Abby thinks of a project or something that the village desperately needs, his attitude is, it will only work if the village creates it, builds it, sustains it, trains their people to do whatever task is needed in order for that project to come to life. And that's where the school comes from. So Abby's wife, Martha, she is the only university educated Maasai woman for probably a 200 or 300 circumference distance ever in the Maasai culture. She was told by her father, who was a chief, she was going to get married at the age of 12, like lots of normal Maasai girls are told. And to give you an idea of how strong Martha is, she said, no, that's not going to happen for me. And that was, to say the least, just slightly rebellious, if not really a bad idea. But Martha stuck to her values. She wanted to marry for love. And she was in love with Abby when she was a young kid. And they ended up, of course, getting married. But Martha got a university education, which is unheard of. And it was in sustainability and in women's issues. So as part of setting up Boutique Safari, she had worked with the Maasai women's charities for quite some time. But she decided that she would work with Abby to combine the concept of the safari supporting their people and their culture, and she would also bring all of her work to the charity. So they established a charity called the Ngorogoro Foundation. Ngorogoro is the name of their village. And through that foundation, with the help of many donations from other sources, that is how the school and the idea of the school came to be. And so the school actually started with a kindergarten, and it was clients of Boutique Safari that I'm very close to that started the kindergarten. They went to Tanzania. They saw that these children were learning kindergarten under an acacia tree in the sand with sticks to use as sort of chalk. And they just felt that was just couldn't stay that way. So they funded the creation of their first kindergarten. But Abby ensured that the kindergarten was built by his people. So he just, there was no money that was flowing to anybody. It was being completely project managed, and he was their contractor, their project manager, their building observer, and they had to learn many things about how to build buildings like a school that they'd never learned before. But that is how the people of his clan have really started to learn skills that they've never had before. And then comes the school. So the school is a girls' school because Martha and Abby believe that the reason that so many girls end up married too young and having to have children when they're far too young is because they're not allowed to get an education. So what the school is designed for is it takes young girls who were just like Martha and who are being told you need to get married and we're going to force you into that. It takes them out of that context and brings them to the school where they are cared for. It's a school with living quarters, kitchen, and the girls basically go to high school. And they go, well, it starts at grade 7, I think, and they have a chance to actually have a life as a person, not as a far too early married young girl. And the girls have also become teachers at the school. The girls have a chance to, for example, Boutique Safari has the only female safari guides in Tanzania. There is no such thing until Boutique Safari as a female safari guide. So just imagine that you can, as a client, say, hey, we'd love to have a female guide. You can. That's unheard of. And so many safari camps were so, they didn't know what to do with these women safari guides because they were built for men and they didn't have female quarters. They had to build them. They didn't have female washrooms for guys. They had to build them. But this is what Abby's vision is really about. It's let our people thrive and let everyone thrive. And women do not deserve to be treated less than. And so this is really what Abby is all about. And to sort of end this long story, as a result of all of this, I have the extraordinary honor of being an adopted elder in his clan. So when I am there, I'm expected to and am humbled and honored to wear Maasai robes. I have been gifted them. I also wear elder jewelry that only an elder in the clan can wear. And I'm expected to live like a Maasai person. I can't speak Ma, that's their language, doesn't matter. The clan knows me because I have helped them create, and that's the school being constructed. That's the school right there. Now it's done. It's totally functional. It's really cool. Their next new dream is to build a little medical care facility, because there's no medical care for anything, like nothing. And that's their sort of next dream. So that probably gives you an awful lot of information, but Abby and his wife, Martha, they represent everything about Tanzania that you need to see. And they are the best, kindest, most visionary people you can imagine, and they're changing the world for their people. And now you're seeing pictures of the orphanage. So the orphanage is a weird story. I will be honest. The orphanage and how the orphanage became such an important part of the boutique safari vision is honestly because of me. When I wanted to go to Africa the first time, or to Tanzania for the first time, and bring others, I wanted to give back. And I was getting married as an older person. We needed nothing, of course. So we asked all the people that were part of our wedding to give us money so that we could donate it to an orphanage that I had picked out in Tanzania. And Abby and the other guides of the safari company they just thought this is the weirdest thing. They don't normally take people to orphanages because that just seems like a depressing thing. And I saw it as completely different. So I picked a baby orphanage. So it takes literally newborns to 4-year-olds. And it's, it's just a really cool place. And so what happened was Abby was so touched by, we brought a ton of things. We went to the market with the group and we bought enough food for a month and a half for the orphanage. We brought them a washer and a washer and a dryer, and it was just really cool. And he basically took that under his wing, and as a result, he has been supporting the orphanage since then. So that's now 14, 15 years ago. The funny thing about this whole story is, the Maasai people normally would never, ever, ever have an orphan, because if a child is born and its mother passes away, and it does happen, unfortunately, way too often, because very young girls are giving birth to kids and really bad things happen, especially because female circumcision is unfortunately very alive in that culture. So traditionally, the village just takes care of that child if it's born. But about 4 years ago now, a woman had a baby in the village. She passed away, and there was no other woman in the village at that time who was lactating, who could feed that child. So Abby ran to the village, picked up the child, and brought it to the orphanage. So through all of this relationship, it ends up that Abby, of all people, asks for the help of the orphanage that he has been providing food and support to for many years. He is adopting that young boy. He has also adopted another girl who's now, she's 16 now. This is, again, part of their culture. If a child needs a family, they open their doors. And it's just, again, another, I guess, sign of the kind of people that Abby and Martha represent. And they're not normal, they're exceptional. And you will have Abby as your guide. There is nothing more fun. Abby has a sense of humor, and he is a utter brat. He loves to play jokes on people. He loves to make you giggle. He likes to be a complete teenager brat. And he's also, just so fundamentally knowledgeable. But if you have more than a few people and you also want an experience of a lifetime, then ask Jenny to also organize one of the women guides, because that's pretty cool too. So I'm sorry I took a long time there, but I hope I gave everyone a lot of background.
You did. See, to me, that's really important, because what that shows, there are lots of tour operators and drivers and guides out there. And it's so important to hear that, to then understand what sets boutique safaris apart from everybody else that's out there, and how different and committed like going to the orphanage and taking things and being able to cuddle and be with the little children, and then going out to the school, and you can now stay there and you can participate in their activities. It makes it, I don't know, it makes it real. And then to hear the background of how it's all started, it's amazing. And here's just you do some of the most amazing things on safari. You go places where you never see anybody else, and you think, well, where is everybody? I saw lots of vehicles away off in the distance, but we're with animals and we're the only people. I can't say anything more about him. He's just the best, and you just solidified it. So
yeah, it's pretty exceptional.
I guess we're down to questions. The last thing I was going to say, it is safe to go to Tanzania coming out of COVID, and with all the health and regulations. We're going from personal travel in April to update ourselves on all the different properties so that we can talk more one-on-one with everybody about what's new and what we should be seeing. So we all would have no problem. We've got some questions. Oh God, I can't read these without my glasses. I'm going to try. So Paul, here we go. I've got a question saying, do the different parks have different times of the year that are best for visiting?
I would say yes, because like I was describing earlier, Tanzania is pardon me, not a small country. And so different climates and different times of the year will be affected. One of the things that I can say is if I had my choice, there are 2 times of year that I strongly recommend for 2 but different reasons. It would be a time for us, which I would call the fall. Who doesn't want to get the heck out of Vancouver in late October or in early November? Pick me, please. I was just in Palm Springs for a reason. And the time of year there is when the migration is actually the female, all the wildebeest are migrating. And let's just be clear, there's about 2 million of them that migrate. You cannot imagine what 2 million animals sound like. And they are moving south from Kenya into the Serengeti, and it's a marvelous time to see giant herds of wildebeest. It's also a great time to go to Zanzibar because it's the water is crystal clear. There's been no sort of storms or anything that is bringing up the water. It's also very dry. So what does that mean? It's good and bad. It won't be like what you're seeing in that photo right now, just this verdant golf course. It will be very brown, but the brown allows you to see like imagine those trees right now not having leaves. You can see incredible things because there's not a lot of things for the game to hide behind. And in early November, the short rains start. So you want to see that. The rains are really stunning. And what it does is you will be amazed, in 2 days after it rains, grass starts to grow. And I'm not kidding. Grass and leaves start to bud out within 2 to 3 days. I wouldn't have believed it myself. So that's a super great time. And then January, February, March, April, that's with the birthing season. The height of the birthing is in February. And God, you really can't imagine what that's like. And the Serengeti is sort of just a microcosm of Tarangiri, the Ngorogoro Crater. There's and Lake Manyara. There's a couple of other national parks I have not mentioned. If you are a birder and you want to see literally hundreds of species of birds, then Abby is actually a specialized guide. He has a specialized certificate for birding, and he can guide birding safaris, which only a very small handful of safari guides have. He loves birds. Lake Manyara and some of the other lakes around Tanzania in the north have the incredible populations of flamingos. many migratory bird species that fly in and use Tanzania as a stopping point. And Lake Manyara, which is the lake I was talking about for Tarangiri, also has a national park in it, a very small national park, but really well known for its birds, really amazing bird population. So the birds at that time of year in October, for example, when there's less vegetation, the birds are really visible, which is really great. Later on in the year, in January, February, if you want birds, that's when the migration of birds also starts to take place, because the birds are starting to think about, well, we'll leave Southern Africa and we'll start to go north because we want to be in Europe for April, May. So you'll get migratory bird species at that time of year that you wouldn't normally see. So the answer is yes, there's different times of year, but if I was to say when, oh God, that picture of Abby, when do I want to go? I would want to go in our fall or our winter. And who the hell doesn't want to get out of here in our fall or our winter? Perfect time to go on safari.
Okay, somebody else mentioned about Lake Manyara, so you just covered that. Anything more that you wanted to speak on with Lake Manyara?
Well, Lake Manyara is boy, it's a really cool park. So a couple of things Lake Manyara has that you probably won't see if you don't go to it. It's very close to Tarangiri. And it's you can go to Lake Manyara on your way into Serengeti as well as Tarangiri, or if you decide to drive back from Serengeti and do the road trip back, you can go to Lake Manyara on your way home. Lake Manyara has enormous troops of baboons that you will not see elsewhere. And I mean, it's not unusual to see, I don't know, 100, 150 baboons together. So they're massive troops. And they're really fun. They're also really crazy. They're super active, and they're bouncing around all over the trees and making a lot of noise. It's really fun. Lake Manyara also has, like I said, bird species, a very large hippo population. You will see hippos in Tanzania, or pardon me, in Serengeti, I promise you. You will also see hippos in Ngorogoro Crater, I promise you. But Manyara has a really robust population of hippos that definitely has a very strong population of some of the, because it's spring fed, so it's very lush. It feels like a jungle any time of year in certain parts of it. So it has a lot of species that you may not see in a heavily wooded area, that you will see there, and you won't see in for example in Serengeti, because it's really like a jungle. So you will see species of birds and certain species of antelope that are more woodlands antelope that you won't necessarily see in Serengeti.
Okay. I can answer the next one. Number of people per vehicle. Normally it's a maximum of 6, and then a driver and a guide. Where then questions at the end. What other vaccines are required? We've got a link that, because things are constantly changing at the moment, we have a link that we send out with different destinations that people look at, and they've got all the up to date. So if that is something that you want to know more about, just email your agent and then they can send you out the link for that. We've got, does tour provide binoculars? Abby normally has a couple of sets, but if you've got your own, do bring your own, because it's much easier, because sometimes he likes to use them and not share, and it gets hard to steal them away from him. So I'm big on bringing your own binoculars. What is the typical meal on safari? You get really good food. It's amazing. It's a full-on breakfast. If you're eating lunch at the different properties, it'll either be a buffet or a cooked lunch, the same as breakfast will be cooked. And then dinner, they'll do something different every night. They could be like a kubu. They could be roasting a huge animal, and then there's chickens and lots of salads and desserts, and you will eat better there than what you do here at home. You will not be starved. And if we're out, let's say you go out for the full day, they pack a really good lunch to take out. Changing stations. Charging stations. Yes, there are charging stations in the truck, and then all the different properties have charging. If, let's say, in the tented camps, if the smaller ones, they can't charge them in your rooms, they have a big charging section out at reception, and it's all very safe and secure, and they will keep anything that needs to be charged, and then you'll just go and pick it up later. Do you suggest bringing supplies that you can leave in the village, medicines? Yes. Anything that you would like to bring for the school and the orphanage, they love that. So yes, they cannot get enough of supplies. So clothes, pens, things to write on. blankets.
Children, babies, baby stuff.
Yeah.
Baby wipes, Vaseline, Band-Aids, diapers, anything to do with babies, period. Anything to do with babies. And it doesn't have to be new. They don't care. So go to one of the charity thrift shops and fill your boots with used baby clothes and so on. And they will be so, so grateful. So for the orphanage, and I should also say, part of the fun is when I was talking about the markets, we go to the markets as an incredible educational experience, but it's also to buy food for the orphanage. So basically you'll be helping buy food that we then donate to the orphanage, huge bags of rice and vegetables, and we'll even buy fresh meat and so on that they will cook for the kids.
Somebody was asking about washrooms. Yes, if you go out on safari, they've normally got it set where the washrooms will be, and they're very good washrooms. They are really clean. I'm very fussy about washrooms, as Ian will tell you, so they are very good. If you go out on a day, or let's say you do have to go and we're nowhere near the washroom, they do have heat checks and make sure that it's wherever we're going to stop, and you will have to go in the bush, but he makes it areas so that it is safe to go. So don't worry about that. The weight. Okay, one last question is the weight of your suitcase. Yes, if you are taking a flight, let's say to Zanzibar, then Precision Air is normally 23 kilos. They are very strict on that. Anything over that will be charged. If you are flying within Tanzania, it will go down. Some of these smaller aircraft can be down to 15 kilos. And once again, they are very strict on that. So you really have to keep that in mind for packing. So pack light.
And remember,
yes.
Every single campsite has laundry that you leave your laundry in a bag on your bed, and you come back and everything is pristine. They iron everything, even your socks. And so you don't have to carry a whole lot of things, because you can have laundry done everywhere. Yeah.
But everybody else that's written questions, we will send out answers to that after, because we've gone over the hour and I'm getting the big wrap up sign from my co-hosts over here. So I'm going to just slide out of the way here. Paul, thank you very, very much for the conversation tonight. It was fantastic.
You're welcome.
I'm packing my bag and I want to go tomorrow now rather than
Take me, happy, take me.
Okay, all right, I'll let Darcy round it up.
Oh, my chair doesn't kneel at all. Okay, thank you, Jenny. You did a superb job of conducting that interview. Thank you. That was awesome. And Paul, thank you so much for sharing your passion. You just bring so much to this company, and hearing it straight from yourself who helped build it is just brings an element that we wouldn't have if you weren't here. So I know time is precious, and thank you so much.
Oh, it's not precious. Anything I can do to to share that Tanzanian love. I'm all in always.
And you trust us to like continue to share the love. So thank you for choosing Personal Travel Management to represent.
Couldn't be better hands. No way.
And everybody else, we do have 20 agents here at our, or 25 agents now. 30. Geez, I should really use more. 30 agents here at Personal Travel Management that would be more than happy to help you with your next safari. They're all educated in boutique safari because we've been saying, hey, you gotta check it out, you gotta check it out. And a lot of them are online tonight. A little bit of housekeeping. We will be sending out 2 emails. One will be done in the next 48 hours, and in it will be a survey. There will be a prize of a $25 gift card to something. Oh, Catherine's saying gas. Hey, it's something we kind of need right now, right? So a gas station that has gas. We're gonna give you a gift card to a gas station that has gas. So please do fill out that survey because it helps us do a better job. It lets us have a feel for what our clients are looking for and how we can perfect these presentations when you guys come online once a month to join us. So that would be great and super helpful. And then the second email that I send out will be next week, and that will reveal our next destination, which will be in January. So we'll keep your eyes tuned for that, and we'll have our winner revealed in that email as well. Also, we are recording. So if you have any friends or family that you're like, oh my gosh, I heard this on Boutique Safari. There's this awesome guy named Paul, and he was explaining, you know, we got all teary, and Jenny was there, and she was asking all these questions, and you want your family and friends to visit what you just visited, we will send out the recording too. So you guys will have the opportunity to pass that on, because that would be great. That's all I have. So thank you once again. Jenny mentioned all questions will be answered in the email too, because we know we missed a couple. And thank you guys so much for joining us, and have an awesome night. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night, and go to Tanzania now.
Thanks, Paul.
Bags are packed.